Many people grow up believing that life has bad luck and good luck, as if everything that happens is random. But when you look closely at what has unfolded, you begin to see a very clear chain of connection. Nothing appears on its own without a cause behind it. What you are living today is not a coincidence. You might call it bad luck when a relationship falls apart, when a decision leads you down the wrong path, or when you keep falling into the same kind of failure. But if you are honest enough, you will realize these things are not new. They are repetitions, and repetition always has roots within. In Buddhist teachings, everything operates through cause and conditions. Cause is what you plant, conditions are what allow it to bear fruit. No result arises on its own. The Dhammapada teaches, mind precedes all things, mind is their master, mind creates them. What you think, what you believe, and what you choose, that is what is shaping your reality. When you say you are unlucky, you are actually avoiding looking back at the choices that led you there. Those choices are not always big. Sometimes it is just one moment of ignoring your intuition, one moment of not pausing to reflect, one moment of choosing emotion over awareness. But those small things accumulate over time. You may have seen the signs early but continued anyway. You may have known someone was not right for you but still stepped in. You may have understood that a habit was harming you but kept it anyway. Not because you wanted to suffer, but because you were not truly aware when you made those choices. That is unconsciousness at work. The Buddha taught that human beings are governed by ignorance, meaning not seeing things clearly as they are. When you do not see clearly, you act based on emotion, fear, and old habits. And when you act that way, you continue planting the same causes as before, so the results cannot be different. A person who keeps loving the wrong people is not unlucky. A person who keeps failing in the same way is not being targeted by life. It is because within them there are patterns that have not been seen. When the patterns do not change, the choices do not change, and the results do not change. You are not living in a chaotic world the way you think. Everything has its own order. You just have not seen that order yet. When you begin to observe what has happened in your life, you will start to see a line connecting it all. Your decisions, your reactions, your thoughts, all of them are leading in the same direction. The middle-length discourses say, with ignorance as condition, formations arise. When you do not see clearly, you act in confusion. And from those actions, you continue creating consequences that you yourself will have to face later. No one is forcing you, but you are not entirely free either, because you are being led without knowing it. You do not suffer because the world is too harsh. You suffer because of how you respond to it. In the same situation, one person learns the lesson and moves forward, while another repeats the mistake and stays stuck. The difference is not in the situation, but in the awareness at the moment of choice. There are times when you think you have no choice, but in reality, you always do. You just do not see it. You react faster than you observe. You act before you understand what is happening within you. And that haste is what leads you back to the same path. The Buddha did not teach people to believe in fate. He taught people to look at causes. When you understand the cause, you can change the result. But if you keep believing everything is just bad luck or good luck, you will never reach the root of the problem. It is not that you are weak. It is not that you are unlucky. You simply have not seen what you are doing in your own life. And when you do not see, you cannot change. You keep living on autopilot, through reactions, through patterns that have been programmed before. There is a truth that is not easy to accept. You are contributing to what you are going through. Not entirely, but there is definitely your part in it. When you accept this, you are no longer a victim. You begin to take responsibility, and from there, you begin to have the power to change. You do not need an easier life to suffer less. You need a clearer view of yourself. When you can see the causes you are planting every day, you will understand that nothing is random. And at that point, the story of bad luck no longer holds meaning. You are not unlucky, you just have not seen. And when you have not seen, you keep planting the things that lead you back to the same results. But the moment you begin to see, even just a little, that loop has already started to crack. And that is the beginning of real change. You can understand cause and effect, yet still keep repeating the same mistakes. The problem is not that you lack knowledge, but that you do not truly see what is happening within you. You know, but you do not recognize it in the moment of action, and that gap is what keeps you walking the same old path. A deeper part of the issue lies in ignorance. In Buddhism, ignorance is not simply a lack of knowledge, but a failure to see the true nature of the mind. You do not clearly see how your emotions are operating, you do not see where your desires are leading you, and you do not recognize how your ego is influencing your choices. When a strong emotion arises, you often identify with it. You think it is you. But the Buddha taught in the Samyutta Nikaya, whatever is impermanent is not self. Emotions come and go, but when you cling to them, you let them dictate your actions, and from that, consequences are created. You know someone is not right for you, yet you still step in, not because you are foolish, but because you are being guided by a sense of familiarity. Sometimes, what feels familiar comes from old wounds. You are not loving that person. You are repeating something unresolved within yourself. A bad habit does not exist on its own. It is repeated long enough to become a reflex. You may fully understand that it is harming you, but in the moment, you still choose it. Not because you want to, but because you are not aware enough to pause. That is not weakness, that is unconsciousness in control. When you cling tightly to something, even when you know you should let go, it is not just simple stubbornness. It is fear of loss, a sense of inner lack. You are not really holding on to that thing. You are trying to hold on to the feeling of safety you believe it gives you, and that is what keeps you there. The human mind works like a programmed system. It records what you go through, especially your wounds. From that, it creates automatic responses to protect you. But those responses are not always right, and often they are what keep you stuck. The Dhammapada says, "The fool thinks himself wise, but not seeing is true foolishness." When you do not realize you are being driven, you think you are free, but in reality, you are reacting based on old patterns you have never examined. You choose based on habit because it feels familiar, not because it is right. You love from a place of lack, not because it is good for you. You live by reflex because you have never paused to observe. And when you do not observe, you have no chance to choose differently. One hard truth is that you do not fully control yourself as much as you think. Many of your decisions happen before you become aware of them. You only rationalize them afterward. This makes you believe you chose, but in reality, you were just reacting. The Buddha taught in the middle-length discourses, "With ignorance as condition, formations arise. With formations, consciousness." As long as ignorance remains, your actions will continue to be conditioned. And when your actions are conditioned, you will keep creating the same results, even if you do not want to. You are not living as fully as you think. Most of the time, you are operating on old programming. What you call your personality is often just repeated reactions over time. And when you believe that is who you truly are, you stop trying to change. The most important moment is when you begin to question your own reactions. When you see that not every thought is true, not every emotion is trustworthy, you begin to separate from them. And that separation opens up a new space. You are not living in complete freedom. You are being driven by things you have never truly faced. When you do not realize this, you keep repeating. Not because life wants you to suffer, but because you have not paused long enough to see what is controlling you. It is not life that repeats suffering. It is you repeating choices through unconscious reactions. When you see this clearly, you no longer blame circumstances. You begin to turn inward, where everything truly begins. Not everyone realizes they are being carried away until they begin to pause. You do not need to change your life immediately. You only need to stop for a very small moment, right when a reaction is about to happen. That pause creates a space between you and your old habits. A thought appears, an emotion rises, and normally you would immediately act on it. But if you simply observe, without interfering, you will see that it is not fixed. The Dhammapada teaches, the mind is hard to grasp, restless, difficult to control. When you see this, you no longer believe everything in your head is the truth. You do not need to force yourself to think positively or become a different version of yourself. What is necessary is to look directly at what is happening inside. When you clearly see an emotion forming, you are no longer caught off guard by it. And when you are not caught off guard, you have time to not react in the old way. Mindfulness is not a complicated technique. It is simply the ability to know what you are doing, what you are thinking, what you are feeling in that very moment. The Satipatthana Sutta speaks of contemplating the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. It is not theory, but a way of returning to observe yourself. You once thought you were the thoughts in your mind, but when you begin to observe them, you realize you are the one who sees them. Thoughts come and go, but you remain. Emotions rise and fall, but you are still there. This changes the way you see yourself. An old reaction will always try to pull you back to the familiar path. It is fast, strong, and very convincing. But if you see it right when it begins, you do not need to fight it. You simply do not follow it. And that alone is enough to create a new direction. Before, you were like someone being swept away by a current with no choice. Everything happened too fast, and you could only react. But when you begin to observe, you step out of that current. You are no longer being carried away. You stand outside and watch it move. The middle-length discourses teach that with mindfulness, you clearly know, this is a feeling, this is the mind, this is a phenomenon. That awareness does not make the emotion disappear immediately, but it weakens its control. When you see clearly, you are no longer completely driven by it. You do not need to wait for your life to change before you start living differently. Change begins in how you see a thought, an emotion. When you no longer identify with them, you create space to choose. And that space is where freedom begins to appear. A mindful choice can be very small, just not responding immediately when you are angry, just not going back to something you know is wrong. But those small choices break the old loop. And when the loop is broken, your life begins to move in a different direction. You do not need to be perfect in observing. You will forget. You will react again, and that is normal. What matters is that you return as soon as possible. Every time you realize you have just reacted unconsciously, it is not a failure, but a step forward in awareness. The Buddha taught, "Whoever sees the Dhamma sees the Tathagata." Seeing here is not intellectual understanding, but direct experience. When you clearly see how your mind operates, you no longer need anyone to explain. You understand for yourself why you suffer and how not to continue in the same way. An awakened person is not someone without emotions. They still feel sadness, anger, fear, but they are no longer carried away by them as before. They see them arise, see them pass, and do not need to react immediately. That creates a very real sense of calm. When you begin to see, you begin to have the power to choose. And when you choose with awareness, you no longer have to pay the same price as before. Not because life becomes easier, but because you no longer keep placing yourself into the same situations through the same old reactions. You do not need a luckier life to suffer less. You need a clearer mind so you do not keep creating suffering. When you see this, you stop trying to change the outside too much. You turn inward, where everything truly begins to change.